One down, two to go for the 49ers to secure the number one seed in the NFC. Steph Sanchez and I will be breaking down the blowout of Phillip Rivers and the Colts and what to follow for the rest of the season right after this. I'm Jason Aponte. That's Steph Sanchez. This is the Bully Ball Podcast on the Gold Standard Podcast Network, the only 49ers podcast that has gone into Kyle Shanahan's dugout and made it out. Steph, happy holidays. How are you?
Happy holidays. It's good to be here on a holiday week, and it's good to be a 49ers fan, too. We're going into this one in a very good mood, way better than past times when the 49ers have played on Christmas. Don't remind me. So we're feeling good this time, and, we're going to be talking at the Christmas table about this win.
Hey, let me ask you, how did hate watching go this weekend for 49ers fans? Like, we have different reasons to hate watch, but Thursday Night Football was a great hate watch. I feel like even though the Bears beat the Packers were kind of in the 49ers way, so ha ha ha, that was somebody else who caught it. Um, did we get anybody else on Sunday that we were like, ha, they lost? Or well, then, and then well, yeah, and then the Lions, before the 49ers even had a chance to play a game, we're in the playoffs already. So shout out to Detroit, man. You guys really know how to help.
Thank you, Lions. I mean, yeah, this is the best part about this time of the year, in addition to just being the holidays, but like things start falling into place, and the hate watch has been favorable to the 49ers. Like it feels like all season it's kind of just worked in the 49ers favor, and it's helped that the 49ers have been winning along the way. Like obviously being 11-4, you're going to put yourself in a good position to be able to make the playoffs, right? I don't even think that at the beginning of the year when we made our preseason predictions for the year, like we predicted 11-4. And that's given we were expecting Bosa and Warner to be part of that equation. And had you asked us after those injuries, like, no, we would have never thought this was possible. But it just goes to show the playoff race, the Super Bowl race feels as wide open as ever. And even with the 49ers, you know what's crazy about saying that is that every time you say that, there's multiple people who will be like, that's why I wanted the 49ers to make a move at the trade deadline. Well, they did, and they're not as productive as we would have liked, but at the same time, like they are pieces of the puzzle. And so you look at other teams around the NFL who did make moves, and they're not any more better off than the 49ers are right now. So, I mean, I think that says a lot too. It's anybody's Super Bowl this year.
And I'm glad you brought that up because, I sent out a tweet that I thought was heartwarming and would bring 49ers Twitter together, but boy, was I wrong.
Yeah.
Um, after the Lions lose to the Steelers, you realize, hey, you already knew the 49ers were going to clinch, but there's something about this season and enjoying every little accomplishment, enjoying the ride as it goes than I've felt in a long time. And I know that you didn't win a Super Bowl, so your season was a failure crowd doesn't like hearing that. That's fine to me. But the problem is, some of my favorite seasons, especially recently, haven't ended with the 49ers winning Super Bowls. And honestly, I'm not going to stop loving those teams or loving those moments or loving those games and that season because ultimately it didn't end the way that we all wanted it to. So I just find that kind of funny. And I just think that this year, if ever, they're literally, you have to celebrate everything. What was should have been a formality, them making the playoffs. I'm celebrating that, and I'm very proud of them for that. If they get the number one seed, I'm celebrating that. This idea that seasons are lost or you can't remember a season fondly because they didn't win a Super Bowl or anything like that. I just think this season, for some reason, I'm just enjoying every little bit and enjoying the ride, just given on the circumstances and where we thought this team would have been and everything that's been thrown at them.
It has been a really fun season. Definitely a different season than like what we're used to seeing from this team. And like when they do have this sort of success and they have a record like 11-4, you think they're dominating the entire way and they're favorites like in every game. And but it's been different. Like they've had to scratch and claw to get to that 11-4 and show a lot of resiliency. And I think this team has more character than some of those past teams as well. So yeah, every road to the Super Bowl or even just like wherever they end up, like is always a pleasure to watch. But yeah, I agree. This one just feels it feels more satisfying, I think, just
Hmm.
with everything that they've gone through. We're seeing a different level, and that's why Kyle Shanahan is in those conversations for Coach of the Year. And they're talking about it yesterday on the broadcast, right? Like there's so many names, and they're all like very much worthy of that recognition. So it's going to be interesting how it shakes out. But I mean, this one's sweet for sure for its own way.
Yeah, just enjoying the ride. That's all I'm saying. I don't know how this is going to end. None of us would have thought that this team would have a chance at shouting distance at the number one seed. I'm just saying that to just enjoy this season. And if you're one of those people that, oh, they didn't win the Super Bowl, I didn't enjoy the season, you haven't been enjoying football for a long time. And I think that's kind of a little, yeah,
Like
it's kind of a
that.
little scary to me. Yeah, just, again, some of my favorite seasons, some of my favorite moments, I know exactly where I was when this game was happening, are just seasons that the 49ers didn't get it finished. So, speaking of not get it finished, Steph, in all of the fantasy football leagues that you're in, are you competing for a championship this week, or you're following up like me in a lot of leagues?
I out of the five, I think I was in five this year. I'm still in it in one of them.
Mhm.
I did win my matchup just barely. 5 points is was the margin of victory for me. Jackson Dart had negative 3 points for me, and I still won. Judkins left that game early, and I still, I'm kind of like the Niners. I'm resilient. So hopefully I can keep moving forward. I don't know if this next one is the championship. Yeah, I guess I'm going to the championship for this next
Yeah,
one.
I mean, if you play in leagues that have like a week 17 or week 18 championship, leave
It's
that league.
diabolical.
Yeah,
Yeah,
leave
no,
that
literally.
league. Yeah, like not like, but I don't know. Fantasy football wasn't particularly fun this year just because of all the injuries, man, everywhere. And it didn't matter who it was. When you're spread across like about, pause like 10, 12 leagues, um, just because a guy gets hurt and I don't have him in one league doesn't mean that doesn't kill me in another league. And it just felt like week after week there's just all these soul crushing injuries and ending up playing it wasn't fun. But you know what it is fun? Using Sleeper. The NFL season is here, which means you have a chance at 1,000 times your cash on daily fantasy football. Pick stats like touchdowns, passing yards, receiving yards, fantasy points, and more for up to 1,000 times payout on Sleeper. Get your picks right and you could win big. And for a limited time only, new users will get a free $20 entry. And don't forget to use our promo code GSP. You'll get up to $100 match on your first deposit. Term and conditions apply. See Sleeper's terms and use for details. Currently operational in over 25 states. Check out Sleeper today. All right, Steph, the $1 million question. Which white boy has more motion right now in 2025, Timothy Chalamet or Brock Purdy?
That's a tough one. I mean,
Oh, it
because
is.
Timmy's going hard this year. But it's Brock Purdy. I
Oh,
mean,
damn.
he-
I mean,
it's like
I mean, look, did Brock just drop a hot 16 on a UK drill record this week? I don't
did
know.
Timothy do the Dougie after a rushing
Enough with the
touchdown?
doggy. Yo, look,
Did he
Brock,
throw 5 touchdowns?
Brock, you want to keep the sauce going? Learn a second dance move. Let's do it. Like you got to learn more than one, man. It just can't be that all the time. But yes, Brock Purdy is playing extremely well. This 49ers offense, 30 points a game, exactly what we were looking for earlier in the season, saying, "Hey, this is what's going to have to carry." Hey, we weren't wrong. We were just early. But Steph,
Finally happened.
yeah, Brock Purdy really good at football apparently.
Yeah, and this is I kind of see it as this being the version of Brock that we kind of saw in 2023, but now there's an extra savviness to him. Like I think he's playing smarter than he was even then. And I think he's pushing the ball downfield more than he was then, which makes this offense really, really dangerous. I don't think there's a team in the NFL right now that looks at this 49ers offense and would be looking forward to playing them. Like, because what we saw on Monday night is the 49ers can score on every drive if they wanted to, and they damn sure do with the way that the defense is playing on the other side of it. You know, we're saying they got to carry the load, and they're doing that. As Nick Wagner tweeted out, during their 5-game win streak, the 49ers were averaging 34.4 points per game. That's best in the league in that span. Now they're ninth in the NFL in points per game for the season, averaging 26.13. So this is exactly where they need to be and getting hot at the right time, you know, going into the playoffs. And I think too, what I saw on Monday night is not just, you know, Brock Purdy working this offense, being efficient and all that, but it's the fact that his 5 touchdowns went to 4 different receivers. Could have been 5. It should have been that Jake Tunges one should have counted, right? But we digress. But I think that just goes to show that he's using everybody in this arsenal. At one point, there was the discussion, the discourse of Brock is only as good as the players around him. But when your quarterback is able to use everybody and not just the star players in order to make things happen, Demarcus Robinson gets a touchdown. You got Kendrick Bourne getting his freaking bonus. You got Sky Moore getting the catch. You got Jake Tunges, you know, contribute. You know, when guys, everyone on this offense could get the ball and have some success, you have to look at the quarterback um, who got them there, who got them the ball, right? And so I think since the bye week or since the Carolina Panthers game, Brock Purdy has been elevating this offense. Like, there's no doubt about it.
I think that's a great point, and that's kind of where I'm looking at it, right? In 2023, Brock Purdy obviously looked very phenomenal, and he looked, comfortable, right? That's prime Christian McCaffrey and Kittle and Debo and Ayuk. So everybody kind of just was like, hey, it's the Avengers. And, this year, he's elevating the Avengers. And he doesn't even have all the Avengers, right?
Yeah.
And he just looks more in control now than he ever has. And you can look at the opponent. I'm sure that, people will say, well, Tennessee, well, Cleveland, well, it's how in control he looks. Like yesterday, there was that even like this is how you know you've got it going. When you get strip sacked on a fumble and the ball pops up and it's right there for Luke Farrell and he just advances it, that's when you know that things are going your way. But he just never looked. There was never any time that he looked out of control. He looks like everything is in his control. He doesn't look skittish at all. Like there's a newfound confidence that I'm seeing in Brock Purdy during this stretch that I haven't seen at all. I mean, not at all, but it's never been this high. I won't say that it's never been seen. I just haven't seen it at this high of a level right now. And it's coming at the perfect time because next week's a dogfight Sunday night against the Bears, and then obviously you're looking at the number 1 seed if that happens after the Bear game. So perfect timing for Brock, man. He's looked great. It was really fun to watch him distribute the football yesterday. And like you said, just knowing where everybody is, knowing who to get the ball to, never looked out of control. And he's so good. He threw a touchdown. They didn't call it, and he said, "You know what? I'll just throw one on the next one." So, yeah, man. Brock has a ton of motion. I still think Timothy is just a little bit further ahead of him. The movie comes out in 2 days, so we'll see. But Brock's up there, man, and he's playing very well.
This is a 49ers podcast. I had to give it to Brock, dude.
Yeah, I mean it's cool. Look again, it's negligible, right? It's not. Look, it's only them two. After that, we're not considering anybody else, so that's a good thing as well too. But yeah, Brock looks great. Obviously, the George Kittle thing is a little bit of a bummer. Steph, I'm not a doctor. Glad he doesn't have a high ankle sprain, but he has a low to mid ankle sprain. Why have any ankle sprain is really just my question. I don't want any of them. But it sounds like this is the least significant of them.
Yeah, and I do think about when Amon-Ra St. Brown had like, I think his was a low ankle sprain from like some weeks ago, right? And I remember because I had him on my fantasy team, and I was like hoping he'd be able to play the following game, and he was able to, right, within a week of suffering that injury. Every injury is different, of course. Every person is different, but this is definitely a better sign than had it been a high ankle sprain. He'd likely be week to week. Now we're looking at possibly day to day. But we have to keep in mind, too, 49ers are on a short week. So that could play into his availability for sure in a negative way. Just he doesn't have as much time potentially to get back to the level you want him at for you to feel comfortable to have him out there. Now, you also have a better chance of having Ricky Pearsall back as well. So maybe you just trade one piece for the other for the week, maybe
As
worst case
always.
scenario. Yeah, isn't that just how the 49ers just work all the time? Uh, but yeah, I mean, it's definitely encouraging though that there's a chance. I think that's all we need. And the 49ers, even if there isn't much of a chance, they're going to milk it and make it seem like there is, just so the Bears have to prepare for George Kittle. And honestly, I like Jake Tunges. He's not George Kittle, but I think you could do much worse than what Tunges brings you in the pass game, right? I think he's proven to be pretty reliable. He has 4 touchdowns on the season, almost had 5. I'm not gonna let that go, Jay. Like that would have been Brock Purdy's best throw of the night. It was his best throw of the night. It just didn't count as a catch. We were all robbed.
Well, that's your that's your watch the tape clip for people who are like, oh well, it didn't count, but it still was his best throw. So watch the tape, bozo.
It
Like it
was
was on
yeah.
there,
Whew.
But Kittle again having such a good season. As soon as he's come back, him and Brock Purdy are absolutely cold. Like watching him get 100 yards, it's like, man, just put him out as a receiver. Like it might be better to just keep throwing the football to him. So, Rob, look this up. His career high in touchdowns. Steph and I were talking about. I think on
Oh
one
yeah.
of our last Fact or Fiction. Like, was he going to be able to get there? And hey, to his credit, he's scoring as many touchdowns as basically possible. Like so it might be closer than we think. But if he misses a game, obviously, we're gonna have to put it in a place where it's not going to get there. So,
He
but
said
yeah,
11. 11,
11.
and he has 7 right now.
Ah, it's done. Damn it.
I don't think he's gonna do it, Jay. But there are other feats that some of these 49ers players can reach. Obviously, Christian McCaffrey has one of his own as well. He could become the first player to get a 1K season twice in his career. He just needs 151 receiving yards to do it. He already got the 1K rushing on Monday night. So do we think that McCaffrey could reach 151 receiving yards to finish this season? He would need to average 75.5 receiving yards these next 2 games. What do you think?
That's why I said I'm gonna feel good about this because it was a nice round number, like 150, meaning that it was half of 75, so I could do math real fast. And he just has to average 75 per. I don't think he gets this one, just based on the lack of explosives out of the backfield. I think they're gonna try, or Kyle Shanahan's gonna get him to 150 and forget that he needs one more yard and not let him get the 151. So I'm gonna say no because I do think, depending on how these games go against the Bears and everything, you might want to slow things down. You might want to run the football a little bit more. Kind of play a little bit of hog away. From the two teams. So yeah, I'm gonna say no, but I'm rooting for him.
We're all rooting for him, and yeah, I agree. Like these games are pretty important. You're not just going to go into them with the sole intention of wanting to get McCaffrey like
Right.
these receiving yards.
You mean they
Um,
didn't try to do that with Kendrick Bourne?
it was so funny that he didn't catch the first one, did like the little money celebration thing, and then he caught it. He got another pass, and then did the money celebration.
That's so
And
KB, man.
it
That's
is very
that's.
KB. That's very KB. Congrats to him. I mean,
And I also wanted to tell people if he was 1 yard short, let's just say he never gets that yard, the 49ers were going to pay him out regardless. You really think they're going to sit there and be like, well, it's not like a sports book well, you needed a yard, but you didn't get it. Sorry, pal, you get nothing. They would have probably just paid it to him, But good for Kendrick Bourne. Speaking of wide receivers that filled in, hey, Jordan Watkins and Jordan James, come on down. You are the next contestants on active, but never going to see any snaps. But Demarcus Robinson scores his first touchdown.
Yeah, it's good to see Demarcus Robinson in like the last couple of weeks just get a little bit more of involvement. I think, we'd been kind of wondering for much of the season like where he's been, and I think finally you got enough chemistry with Brock Purdy. That touchdown throw was a seed. Like that was a dart from Purdy. That was
Yeah.
ooh,
Yeah.
it was nice. As were a few of Purdy's throws on the night, but that one was just money.
Yeah. For sure. And again, looked easy, I think it was, if I'm not mistaken, I think it was quarters. So I think that's how you beat quarters is you throw the post over the top. Could be
That's
wrong.
what I heard.
Could
That's what I've heard.
could could be wrong. But yeah, a beautiful throw from Brock. He just looks in control, man. It just, he looks like a guy who is never in danger of the wrong play, doesn't look skittish, doesn't look like it's anything's moving too fast for him. I think he looks as comfortable as he's been. Part of that has to do with the mobility factor and being confident to move around on that toe as well. But he's been great lately. Damn the opponent, man. As long as he plays like that and keeps the ball out of harm's way, and is moving this offense along. I mean, this offense, it feels like on third down and in the red zone, they're just money,
Mm-hmm.
and that is something that is really hard to remember, especially last year with the red zone offense and how much that has changed. And again, that red zone number that has to do with Mac Jones as well too. So it's a collective, uh, effort from the 49ers offense in the red zone, but they're down red zone. They feel like it's more often than not they're going to get it as long as it's not a third and ridiculous. And then all of a sudden, if you're getting down to 4th and 1, Kyle Shanahan is not scared anymore. He's going for it as well too, man. This offense is just right now everything that we've wanted, and I don't want it to stop. Just keep rolling, Kyle. You got it, man. You guys got the motion now.
You love to see it, and yeah, I think Kyle Shanahan's most definitely in his bag. Obviously we're going to give the offensive players the praise, but we know the mastermind of it all is George Kittle. He's pulling the strings of this offense in just the right way. Now, I want to ask you this because we've kind of mentioned it in the past on Kyle that especially these last two seasons where the defense and the special teams quite frankly just has not been up to par, has not been at the level of Kyle Shanahan, and not many can be. But now that you have Robert Saleh back, and Robert Saleh can be the head coach of the defense, basically, and now that special teams is in a really good place, Kyle Shanahan could focus on the offense more so than maybe he was able to the past couple seasons, where maybe he felt like he had to dabble in the defense a little bit and just help out in other areas. I don't know if that's the case. I'm speculating, right? But I think we have speculated this in the past. And do you feel like it's just a coincidence, though, that as soon as those other areas feel like they're not that the defense is that good, but you know what I mean? Like Robert Saleh has a handle on it. You don't have to worry about that being mismanaged in any way. So now that there's better coaching on that side, Kyle Shanahan all of a sudden has this offense playing at a top tier level once again.
Yeah, I think a little bit of it has to do with that. Obviously last year with Sorensen, we saw during the preseason he was like listening in on the calls to make sure that he was getting the right calls. Clearly, there's something that's on his mind. We know about the Wilkes stuff where, are you in the booth? Are you down? Or like, are we doing this at halftime? Right. I think that they have conversations, but it's nowhere near as in depth. So I do think it's a little bit more of a hands off approach. With Kyle. But I think what you're seeing from this offense and the real reason that it stepped up is the passing and the growth in the passing game. And we've talked a lot about Kyle Shanahan's offense and everything is run first and off of play action and how sometimes you'll look at the passing attempts and you'll see that they're all the way at the bottom. Seemed like it was a concerted effort, knowing that early on the running game wasn't working. We're going to work on our drop back passing concepts. A lot of that has to do with how well Mac executed. But I do think that the real reason that we're kind of seeing this offense move in this direction is the drop back passing game has gotten so much better, and there's other things that they're doing. They're far more confident in throwing the ball because of who's under center. And given the fact that they've been without Ricky Pearsall, Brandon Ayuk, it makes it all the more impressive because whoever is getting a chance is getting in and they're contributing, right? Like when Kendrick Bourne's asked to be the number one, back to back 140 yard games. Demarcus Robinson, you got to fill in because Ricky Pearsall's out. Here's your touchdown, right? Jawan Jennings, who we've talked about a lot, throughout this year, had some mixed feelings. Said, hey, you know what? Why don't you trade him at the deadline? Where would they be without him right now at this point? And where he's been able to slide back into that role of third down and red zone guy. So I think a lot of it has to do with the fact that there's been steps from Purdy, steps from this passing offense, and steps in confidence from Kyle Shanahan that this offense can operate in a straight drop back passing offense and still be able to keep defenses off balance and not find themselves, in a spot where it's just not working over and over.
Yeah, and also too, like, because I know we've discussed this in the past, especially like last year, where I mean the receiving unit was just kind of a mess, and guys were going in and out, and you were trying to fit a square peg in a round hole. It seemed like sometimes, right? And guys who were healthy weren't always fit for the role that they were replacing. You know what I mean? And now it just feels like with guys being in and out, even from the quarterback perspective, right? We played Mac Jones for as many games as he did. You don't have George Kittle for as many games as he did. Ricky Pearsall, as you mentioned, that requires adjustments. And I just have to say, the adjustments have been way better this year than they were last year, because there weren't really any adjustments last year. And I understand how it's difficult to be blindsided by all the amounts of injuries or just all the things that happened last year. But like, it just felt like this year, Kyle Shanahan knew he had a plan, like what he was gonna do to, hey, if this ever happens again, like I am going to be ready and I'm gonna continue to operate my offense at this level. And like we've seen how it's unfolded now that everyone's for the most part is back. Now we're seeing that come into fruition where it's really rolling, right? And it's on fire. So yeah, I just appreciate, I think, what everyone is doing. It just feels like everyone has matured from like Purdy to Kyle Shanahan to, even just some of the receivers that the 49ers have had. Run blocking has improved as the season has gone on, man. Like, they look good, man. They look good. This is 49ers football right here on offense.
Yeah, well, now let's talk about the defense.
How much time you
So
got?
yeah. I mean, hey, look, you had your fun. Let's talk about let's get down to it. Um, Good to see Tatum Bethune back. Good to see YGM back. Sammy O, Jordan Elliott. Those aren't small contributors, right? But Tatum Bethune has been very good, run defender. I think he's great in run fits. The problem is when you single him out in coverage, and I think that's what Phillip Rivers and the Colts were doing. I don't know if anybody was paying attention to the broadcast, but that place was quiet as a church mouse in there when they were on offense, and essentially, Phillip Rivers was at the line. They came with a play. He looks. He's Orlando left, Orlando right, whatever, and he's changing the play at the line, and he was dissecting exactly what the 49ers were trying to do coverage wise, disguise wise, and look, he was getting to it, right? He was getting to it, especially early on. That's part of the issue. But the thing is this: the only reason I bring that up is next week against Caleb Williams, that won't be something that, well, one, Ben Johnson doesn't want him doing that, right? Like, dissecting at the line. I'm sure that they have their way of checking and they have their way of changing plays, but he'll be on the road. So when you're on offense, it'll be loud. You're going to have to use hand signals most likely. You're not going to be able to call it out the way that Rivers did. And then week 18, the same thing with Sam Darnold. It'll be, at Levi's as well too. But I just felt like Phillip Rivers was doing exactly what Kyle Shanahan was talking about in the press conference about seeing it all and how smart he is, because that's the way that, I mean, obviously, without the physical gifts, you can't win that way. But I was really impressed with what they were talking about. Now you get exactly why it was easy for them to go to him. Even if he's not physically gifted, the guy still sees it, and he was still seeing it up quickly, and he was still getting to his advantageous matchup. So, Tatum Bethune in coverage, that's a little bit scary. Hard to try to cover Warren and those guys, but it did feel like the Colts were getting whatever they wanted against this defense, especially in the secondary and against the linebackers.
I think especially in the first half. And I think a lot of that kind of had to do with clearly the 49ers' main point of focus was Jonathan Taylor. And
Yeah,
you can't say they didn't do a good job.
they did a great job.
He averaged 2.9 yards per carry. I mean,
Yeah,
you can't ask for a better performance there. And we were all worried mostly about Jonathan Taylor, right?
and about the missed
So
tackles, which for I gotta say, there's no coincidence that Curtis Robinson is not playing and the tackling gets a little bit better.
inactive at that. Yeah, they were like, we can't even risk him being active. Like, but yeah, look, you can't ask for anything better for how they defended Taylor. But it feels like that was their number one focus, right? The rest was, let's have Phillip Rivers beat us. And that's not any disrespect to Phillip Rivers, because if you listen to Robert Saleh and Kyle Shanahan and everything they'd said about him throughout the week, like they knew how good he is, how smart he is. Like you just outlined some of those things as well. I think though, given what he did against Seattle, like they were probably like, he's smart, but how much could he really do still? Like, let's just see. Let's just see. And they found out. They found out in the first half for sure. And even in the second half at some points. But I do feel like Robert Saleh did make some adjustments in the second half to limit Phillip Rivers a little bit more. He was bringing more pressure.
Yeah,
And I think that did help. So all that to say that I think the 49ers and the way they play certain teams, like you can see it from week to week. And it's why it's so weird to kind of gauge this defense, because one week it'll look like their run defense is really bad, but it's because the point of emphasis was pass defense and keeping everything in front of them. And then one week they're stopping Jonathan Taylor for 46 yards, but suddenly the secondary looks awful, right? Like, so I think they're okay with one side of the defense or one thing in the defense looking bad, as long as they can focus on the main thing, right? And
yeah.
yeah, I don't. There's a quote here from, who's this from? Oh,
D
D
Winters.
Winters, who said, quote, Robert Saleh brought us to the sideline and was saying, stop panicking. We are a young defense and we have all the confidence in the world. So Saleh just pulled us aside and told us to play our brand of football, and we built some momentum and won the game, end quote. So, I mean,
Well,
make him a good defensive coordinator right there.
yeah, I mean, he should stay, honestly. I think it was really brave of him. I think it's really brave of him to put out some bad tape early on so people could be like, whoa, 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 I don't know if I want that guy over here, like, and then turning it around. But I've been kind of hard on the secondary, right? But Ronaldo Green doesn't play in this game. We get flashes from Jair Brown, who, by the way, got beat on the touchdown, but then comes right back on special teams, which is something that, again, no matter what, if you're gonna make a mistake, keep playing hard and keep going. And the 49ers defense, and this is the formula, and I feel like we've been saying this for weeks now. The formula is put up 30, hope that your defense gets one or two stops, whether that's a turnover or actually get a punt, and get a game-changing play on special teams, and you're right there, right? So the Colts go right down, they score, the 49ers answer right back, and then boom, the 49ers are right back in scoring position after a special teams play. That's the key right there. Like, moving forward, that's what it's going to be. It's going to be, can special teams make a play, whether that's a big return or a fumble or something like that? Can Eddie Pinheiro, who, by the way, you're still perfect on the season in my eyes, GOAT. Okay, you're still like, I don't care what the numbers say. Okay, we don't have to listen to, if I've learned anything in today's climate is, no matter what's the fact and what's really right there in front of you and read, you don't have to believe it and can call it fake news. So that's what I'm doing with Eddie Pinheiro's kicking record.
Kicker update.
Nothing but respect for my kicker. And by the way, I think it's really, really brave of Brock Purdy and the offense to make sure that Thomas Morstead is very, very, very healthy and ready to go in the playoffs and is not being overused down the stretch. That is the sign of a selfless captain, a selfless leader, and a guy who will do anything to help his team win, Steph.
I already think being part of like solely special teams, punting, kicker, like is already kind of boring. But man, to go like 2 whole weeks without any punts, like that's just he looked so bored on the sideline. But he's getting the check, man. I mean, hey, yeah, good for him.
Listen, I'll become a team's punter if you can assure me that I'll never have to punt. Like I'll totally side up and just side but as soon as you get me out there and you want me to kick, I'm gonna be like, oh, that wasn't part of the deal. Like I actually have to kick. Like this is the type of deal that I want. $209,000, 166 to us poor people, earned from not punting since week 13. 49ers offense, just selfless acts. But defensively, I think I have a new joke for anybody that I'm talking to, whether it's romantic or anything like that. Like if I send you a picture of Darrell Luter, it just means I need space.
Stupid.
I mean, he's playing so far off.
But,
like,
okay, can I say something though? And I
Yeah.
think we all agree on this. Like the DPI he was called on was BS.
That was BS. What? Wait. We have to curse like Phillip Rivers. Let's stinking go. Dadgummit. And he said something else though, like because I was listening to he was mic'd up for Monday's game. I don't know, like if someone cursed at me in a competitive way, I don't think that would scare me. But a guy going dadgummit or gosh darn it, that would scare me a lot more. That's way more intimidating in my opinion.
Hey, like he's got a house full of children. He's got what 10 kids they said, one grandchild, and he's coaching a high school team. Like he's got to keep it PG for all the children.
Dude,
he's gotten creative with it. He's gotten creative because I never heard that in my life.
It's ridiculous, man. So, but yeah, defensively, I think everything else is gonna change itself a little bit. But what I am afraid of right now is this Bears rushing attack. Now, this Bears rushing attack is primed on the fact that they have two very good backs and their offensive line is very good, which is exactly what they invested in. And Ben Johnson's been running the football. So I guess this is us looking ahead, with the Bears as well, too. The things that the 49ers should be worried about are not the straight drop back passing with Caleb Williams. It's him getting out of the pocket, him making things happen after. He this season has been far more Lamar Jackson in the pocket and getting away from people than Caleb Williams, right? And on the run, he's going to make some of those plays. That's what's making his season special. It's not the stuff that he's necessarily doing from the pocket. And that is where the 49ers are going to prove that they have to keep him in the pocket. The only thing that will benefit them a little, probably no Roma Dunze this week. I don't know about Luther Burden. DJ Moore is obviously still there. Olamide Zaccheaus is one of the other guys as well. Colston Loveland is the guy that they took really high. But right up against it right away, you're looking at the Ben Johnson running game, but you also have to find a way to contain Caleb Williams in the pocket and not force your secondary to have to cover for extended long periods of time while he's out of the pocket trying to make something happen.
Okay. I'm going to be honest. I think by virtue of the 49ers pass rush not being all that crazy, I don't think it's going to be that difficult for the defensive line to keep him in the pocket. And what I mean by that is usually when you create those rushing lanes, it's okay, not all the time, but sometimes if a guy is like, say, the edges, for example, are rushing too far ahead, and there's a space there's a huge gap that opens up for the quarterback to run through. What I'm seeing from the 49ers defensive line, I think for the most part, is just that there isn't anyone that's getting more penetration, necessarily, where I think that's going to be like a huge issue for them. So I almost feel like this is a game where you're not necessarily trying to get a sack on him. You just try to keep him within the pocket and see how you can keep him from how you can force him into a mistake through your coverage and where you're showing him there. But
yeah, that's the thing. Like I'd rather see him from the pocket try to win.
Yeah, which I think the 49ers could do. Like I actually feel like they're set up kind of well to do that. As far as if he does escape the pocket, which he's bound to, he will get those opportunities. He's very athletic, very quick. And then also the run game. This needs to be a game where the defense swarms. That needs to be the number one thing. It's not just about one guy getting a tackle. Everyone, it needs to be all hands on deck to get to the ball carrier at all times. And I think that's going to be their best shot at winning this one.
CJ West and Alfred Collins, hello, nice to see you in this game as well. I do think
Stout,
you got to
too.
you got to give the guys a little bit of time, like YGM, Sammy O, like maybe even though this is a short week, like another full week of practice, getting right into it, that could really help them out as well too. I wanted to shout out Upton Stout. I feel like he's been playing a lot better. He had himself a good game in this one as well. Looks a lot more confident. You hope that Ronaldo Green is back soon. Just Luter's fine. It's just he wants to play so far off and make sure everything's in front of him. And that definitely wasn't a PI. That was one of the worst calls. So yeah, defensively, it's just going to be what it is, right? Like you're just going to hope for one or two plays, whether it's a third down stop or a turnover or something like that. They're going to need something from the defense. They can't just give up, all the points. And we got a tweet on the screen from Rob. 49ers rookie CJ West got his first career sack tonight. Who would have guessed that it would come against a quarterback that retired from the NFL a half decade before West was drafted? Also, shout out to CJ West, Indiana Hoosiers. Stop playing with the Big Ten champs. Yeah, and then look, with the Bears defense, watching them, they're not overly intimidating. They are turnover reliant. And you know what? It's up to you to interpret that, right? Generally, they don't get off the field unless it's with a turnover. But they create a lot of turnovers. So I don't know how to twist that into something where I'm just like, oh, well, that's a negative. However you're getting off the field is however getting off the field. And you got 15 games of them making efforts to turn the football over and succeeding. I don't know if that's something that can be dismissed as just like, hey, well, just don't turn it over. They force the turnovers, and they're the ones who play like that. So I think that's really where that defense shines. It's not really, stout against the run or stout against the pass. It's turning the football over when they need to play.
Yeah, and as it pertains to like interceptions, when you see Brock Purdy make some of the throws that even he made yesterday, and we say all the time, you live by and you die by some of those throws that Brock Purdy makes. Well, yesterday the 49ers lived by them and they were successful with them. George Kittle coming back for a couple of those that were thrown into really tight coverage, and if he didn't come back for it, there's potentially an interception right there, right? So those types of throws, I think you just have to kind of make that call on the fly. Like, is this worth throwing to a defense that is known for capitalizing on such throws and such opportunities, right? I think that's part of it. And then also taking care of the football, holding on to it and all that as well. So I'm not saying Brock should change the way he's playing, because I think right now what he's doing is working for him and is working for this offense. But I think maybe if there's just a little more to be cognizant of, to make sure that you take care of the football and you're not giving the opposing team opportunities. I mean, that could go a long way.
Yeah, this is going to be a fun one, man. This is going to be a dogfight. The Colts game you felt a lot better about because of who the quarterback was. The game started, you didn't feel as good, but I never really felt like that game was ever in danger of the 49ers losing, especially with how they looked on offense. Now, this game coming up is going to be the one. And, the people that are still, I'm going off of what is being used to slight the Bears, which is, oh, well, they have a cupcake schedule. They've had a cupcake schedule years and years in a row, and they haven't won those games. So they've already turned the corner in that regard. And you already know that Ben Johnson is really, really good, when it comes to play calling and everything as well, too. So, it doesn't matter how you got here at this point. You still have a chance. And if I'm not mistaken, they still have a chance, right, at the number one seed, if possible as well, too. Like, they just need some stuff to go their way as well.
I guess. I mean, they're in second now, so I would think there's probably an easier path for them to get it as well.
All right, let's do this. Let's play this new game. So I saw this trend on, I don't know, Instagram, TikTok. I don't know. These days bleed together. These apps bleed together. Who knows? I'm going to start naming NFC playoff teams. Stop me when you hear a team name that scares you for the 49ers. Okay? Seattle,
Their defense scares me.
But do they scare you overall? Is that a team you do not want to play in the playoffs?
I would play them.
Okay, so
it wouldn't be my first choice, obviously.
I'm just gonna say the name. If you don't, if you're not scared of them, don't say anything. Whoever's in the NFC South. Philadelphia, Chicago, the Rams.
Yeah, out of all the teams, Rams are probably the team I'd be most afraid of.
Yeah. I think I'm inclined to agree with you there. That's going to be the one that, if it's run back in the playoffs that you probably have the most hesitation towards. Not really afraid of Green Bay, Chicago, Seattle, like really like any of those teams, right? Seattle put up how many points against that Colts defense without DeForest Buckner at home? San Francisco 49ers ran roughshod right through them. So, the Rams 49ers thing is, yeah, it's always going to be close and it's always going to be like a tighter game. But, you just feel like that's the one team that you probably feel like, you have less of a chance of walking away. But I still would pick the 49ers in that game. But yeah, the Packers, the Bears, Seattle, Tampa Bay, Carolina. But the goal is to still have the number 1 seed so you don't have to leave Santa Clara, right? So what it would be, what is it, 5 more games? And 5 more home games it could be, and the 49ers hoist the Lombardi.
Crazy. Like, and who would have thought, again, like, it at the beginning of the season, or like whenever we found out that this game was going to be played at Levi's, I think we were all really excited because we're like, oh, the 49ers have a chance. And then they kind of like tore the team down a little bit. And you're like, oh, well, maybe not. And then, there's so many times where you're like, oh, we're so back, and then injuries happen and kind of seemingly derailed your season. And then we're like, okay, maybe this isn't the year where we're going to be able to play the Super Bowl at Levi's and potentially win. And now all of a sudden, like, it's on the table again, Jay. Like, it's up. This is very exciting. And the fact that, aside from that, like, they could have 5 straight home games, that'd probably be like the first time that's ever happened, right? Like, the team who's hosting city of the Super Bowl also would have the number 1 seed. That's not, certain yet, but they have a chance at that. That's crazy.
Yeah, Tampa Bay won the Super Bowl in their stadium in 2020, but they had to
didn't
leave.
have the. That's what I'm saying.
Right.
Yeah, I'm just talking about having like that straight shot of just being at home the entire time.
Right. And we got a super chat from Derek Ringgold. Winter's pick 6 remind me of Bowman's pick 6 in 2013, 53-53. I can see how you could make that connection, but yeah, D Winters talked about how he finally was picking up on what Phillip Rivers was talking about. Orlando left, like that. It was so quiet in that stadium. I heard all of the calls. I don't know what the calls.
Broadcast, yeah, it was crazy.
Yeah, I don't know what the calls mean, but he was checking every single play, and finally, he broke on a ball, and that was really nice to see. Shout out to D Winters, man. Did he make the Pro Bowl? No, I don't think so. Right? Who made the Pro Bowl, Rob? Put it up.
I'd be surprised if he made the Pro Bowl.
Nah, I don't think he did. Yeah.
6 players, though, for the 49ers. Have
two specialists, right? John Weeks and Luke Gifford. McCaffrey, Kittle. Yeah, well, special teams ace. Yeah, Juice, Kittle, Trent, yep, and CMC. That makes sense. Yeah, and John Weeks is the long snapper, and Gifford's the special teams ace. So there you go. The two sides of the football were recognized for the San Francisco 49ers. Normally Fred Warner and Nick Bosa would be there. But, Steph, anything else that you want to cover on this one? I feel like a third of the Pro Bowlers were special teams players. That is another good point that Rob just threw up on the screen as well, too. But I feel like we covered the game. The goal is the goal. I want to be careful and make sure that Steph and I are focused on week to week and not the entire season or looking forward.
Too late, pal. But you know what we say all the time, though, on this show is that, like, we can look ahead.
Of course we can.
Downplay opponents.
Of course we can.
The 49ers don't.
I can say whatever I want. I can look past whoever I want. I'm not the one who has to play. The San Francisco 49ers better not overlook anybody. Don't let anyone let you get your Super Bowl dream down by talking about we have to stay week to week. We're not in the building. We're not in the meetings. We're not strapping up.
I promise
We,
it's okay if
I
we do.
promise. I promise the 49ers if they lose a game, they're not going to go to the podium and be like, too many of our fans overlooked this one, man. I don't know what they were thinking. We got to lock in week to week. We got to make sure that we're staying grounded and taking it one game at a time. We don't have to do anything like that. The San Francisco 49ers do. But all right. Steph, it was good to see you. Happy holidays. Tomorrow, Noche Buena. Everybody that's watching, make sure that you enjoy your time with your family. You know, reach out to people that you haven't seen in a while and you want to check in on. Just enjoy the time with your family. I know you won't be enjoying your football, so maybe you want to do some extra football, some extra time during football on Christmas Day. That slate went from, oh, that could possibly be interesting to either you're gambling or in your fantasy football championship. That the reason that you're watching. But Steph, good to see you. Happy holidays, my friend. As always, another year that we've done this. You know, you're again, I'll say it as I always do, as good as an analyst you are, you're a better friend. And I'm glad that you and I can still do this and have some fun. Promise I won't leave you with Rob for 2 more weeks like
Yeah,
that ever
dude,
again.
that's like I had reached my limit. Okay,
You
glad
reached
I,
you reached you reached your Rob limit, your quota for Rob. What's
my
the quota for
quota.
Rob?
Let's just say it's good we're at the end of the year because it renews for the new year. So let's
You
just
know what's
not run out.
you know what's one of my favorite things is like, you know, Rob randomly, because he's such a good producer, he has such a good ear. Rob randomly, he'll cut a clip from something, and it won't even be something that anybody's trying to be funny for, and then he puts them all together at the end. I know we're gonna
Oh
get some,
yeah,
yeah, we're gonna get some Ayo moments that sound crazy, and when they're completely taken out of context.
I can't wait. And
Yeah.
in all seriousness, Rob's in the background somewhere listening to us, probably making a stank face. But good producer. Thank you, Rob, for the great year as well. But I mean, we still got our show next Tuesday, right? Actually,
Oh,
I'm not gonna be able to make that show next week, so I guess
so
I'll
we
get
don't.
my
So you're gonna leave me with Rob right
yeah,
before
yeah. I'm
the
gonna leave
season.
you. I'm gonna leave you with Rob, and you
Yeah.
can enjoy that. But yeah, so I'll just say I appreciate you and Rob here. Not very sentimental, but
Nah, it's all right. I mean, we don't got to get all mushy and everything. The 49ers are 2 wins away from the number 1 seed, man. It's go time. Just make
let's
sure
go.
you as a just make sure you as a 49er fan are locked in week to week. I don't want to catch you looking down the schedule and looking forward, all right? Eyes in, lock in, and that's the reason that the 49ers need to stay locked in is because you've been locked in week to week. That'll do it for this episode of Bully Ball on the Gold Standard Podcast Network. Make sure you follow the podcast anywhere that you get your audio podcast. Subscribe to the Gold Standard Podcast Network. Make sure that you like this video, subscribe to the YouTube channel, and everything as well. Appreciate everybody who has been tuning in every single week to these shows. For Steph, for Jay, we're out here.
Peace.